What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast once again. Pedro, Scott, and myself are here. We're going to talk about what we watched this week. I think the main topic is going to be Clerks 3, a movie that I had completely forgot that it came out because I think it got limited release, but we all watched it this past week, so we'll get to that. We'll talk a little bit about the original Clerks, but first we'll just start with a quick check-in and just see what's up with everybody, what everybody's watching. So what's going on?
What's going on, guys? I watched Cocaine Bear. I know I was a little late. I know you guys watched it the previous week, and I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a buddy movie. It's better when you watch it with someone. I started watching it at first by myself, and then like about 15 minutes into the movie, I just had to stop because I had to do something else and got busy. But then I watched it the following day with another person from the beginning, and it was like a different experience. It was just way more fun.
You rewatched it from the top with someone else?
Yeah, just I had only watched the first 15 minutes at first, and I wasn't even getting too into it when I was watching it by myself. I kept finding myself getting distracted by like my phone and stuff. But then I watched it with someone else from the beginning and sat through the movie from beginning to end, all 90 minutes. Watched it in a breeze. Yeah, it was fun, man. It was what it was. It was exactly what you expect from a new movie called Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, maybe funny. That's the key.
It had its moments. It never really slowed down. You know, it picked up right from the beginning. You got like a grisly death in the first 5 minutes, and it just kept going. As they kept introducing actors throughout the movie, that helped keep it going, because you keep seeing familiar faces and actors just keep popping up and popping up. Like, I had no idea Ray Liotta was in it. I know I watched the trailer, but that was a while ago, and when he showed up with like just the hair and like sunglasses and everything, that was great.
Yeah, he was. I'm not sure he was in the trailer. But yeah, he was in the movie. That was actually his last film prior to his death. I think they dedicated the movie to him. But he does a good job playing kind of like the scumbag, showing up at the end.
Yeah, and then he played the role that Ray Liotta always plays, and it worked great. I thought the casting was really good. Whoever did the casting was spot on.
Didn't you think the mom character, now her name's escaping me, didn't you think she felt like a little bit out of place in the movie? Like, I felt like she was just playing like a straight character, Kerry Russell, and everyone else was kind of wacky.
No, and I remember you mentioned that in the last episode, and I kept that in mind. And it's true. It's I agree 100%. It's like she's in a completely serious movie outside. It's like she's acting in another movie while everyone else is like in this sort of like B movie comedy slasher type.
It's like a stoner horror movie.
Yeah,
and she's like,
but I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool. You know, it made her character different. It made her character stand out, and you know, it brought some balance to everything. You know?
Yeah. Scott, any thoughts?
I saw most of it, and that was enough.
Any notable scenes from the movie, Pedro?
The scene, I thought the scene where they had kind of like the confrontation when the I don't remember
when the cop
his name,
is on the roof of the gazebo.
Cop was on top of the gazebo, and they were having the standoff, and one of the guys is hurt, and then the beer shows up. That was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, not my favorite scene.
Were you stoned watching it?
No, that movie was very enjoyable to me. No need to be inebriated or anything.
I was just going to say, you could plead the fifth. You don't have to answer that, but
because it's definitely a movie. If I was like 22, when I used to pretty much like smoke every day, I would have watched that with like all the homies and just cracked up for hours.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that comes out like every, like once in a while. One of them comes up and blows up and becomes the big like stoner comedy.
Yeah,
I was surprised that the movie was directed by Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah.
Right? He's been in I mean, as an actress, she's been in a ton of movies. I didn't realize she was directing and producing now, and let alone come out and direct something like this, you know? I mean,
think
I
it's
don't know her
crazy, isn't it?
background or anything, if it's like comedy and stuff, but this seemed like something out of left field, but great job. I thought the CG of the bear was pretty good too, like 90% of the movie.
Yeah, there were a few shots where it wasn't convincing, but yeah, for the most part, I thought the CGI was pretty good. All right, cool. Got the review in. Did you squeeze in time to watch anything else in these past 2 weeks? Anything catch your eye?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of stuff, man. I've been I saw 2 or 3 episodes on Disney Plus of it's a sort of like an adventure, like lifestyle show, with the guy that plays Thor in the Marvel movies.
Oh, Hemsworth?
Yeah, Liam Hemsworth.
Is that a
And
partnership with National Geographic or just
yes, yeah, it's
separate
partnered
Disney
with,
Plus show?
yes. So it's part of National Geographic.
I think that's Chris Hemsworth, no?
No, it's Liam Hemsworth.
Okay, that might be Thor's brother. I don't know. They're a couple. They
No, it's
look
the guy
alike.
that plays Thor. It's Liam.
That's his name?
Liam Hemsworth.
So who's Chris Hemsworth? No, Liam
He
is the
has a-
brother. Yeah, I just Googled it. Liam.
Okay, so Chris
Chris-
Hemsworth. That
It's Chris Hemsworth, yes.
My mistake. Yeah, I always get the.
We just witnessed 3 guys looking up which Hemsworth was in the voiceover of the show. Oh no, he's not the voice. He's in the show.
No, he's in the show. The show is called
I know, yeah.
Limitless with Chris
Yes.
Hemsworth.
Yes.
And it just
Okay.
like it follows him while he's like taking these tasks and like going on these sort of adventures. Like one of the episodes I saw was how to deal with stress, and they put him through like all these tests. Like he had to like walk atop a skyscraper on like this like balance beam.
That's how you deal with
And-
stress?
It gets into the science of like how to control stress and all that. That was one of the things they had him do. Another like activity they had him do was be underwater with his hands and legs tied.
Wow.
It was fun, yeah. And then another episode, he tried fasting for he just tried doing a water fast where all you do is drink water.
I tried that once. I got a headache. I went on a juice cleanse, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And I just had a headache the entire day. I think it was caffeine withdrawal. Just a sidebar there.
What was the juice?
Pressed.
Oh, pressed. Oh, you were just drinking pressed?
Yeah,
know-
they give
you know why?
They give you like 6 juices that you're supposed to have like every 3 hours throughout the day.
I remember we went to Juiced once together, and I just had one. And with me drinking maybe like 1/4 of the bottle, I had a headache because there's so much. I think it's because there's so much sugar in it, just natural sugar. I don't
it
drink
depends.
that many drinks that it just went right to my head.
It depends on what you have.
Yeah.
You can have some that have no sugar at all, but the sugars are natural sugars. But
Well, maybe we should stop talking about them because we'll talk about them longer when we get them as a sponsor.
true. Pressed, if you're out there, happy to sponsor. Happy to go back on the all juice diet. My wife is still on it. She loves it. So, okay, Chris Hemsworth doing adventure stuff. It sounds like
Yeah,
it's not so
and
much Nat
that's-
Geo. It sounds a little bit different. Because you see a lot of shows where it's like this celebrity like does or like travels the world or like plays with
Yeah.
animals. It's one of those.
Yeah, it's in that realm of shows. And it's actually produced. The show is actually directed by Darren Aronofsky, which was a surprise
Whoa.
to me too. And he's the guy that did Black Swan. He's done like Requiem for a Dream. He's done all those movies, Pie, way back when. I don't know, these shows like this usually just have some random director and like a bunch of different producers, but it's interesting that he's the one behind this.
Okay, cool. Scott, What's going on with you? Are you watching the Trump town hall on CNN?
No. My DVR is recording. It's I have mixed feelings about CNN giving Donald Trump an hour and a half of airtime.
It's a win for Trump. It's a win for CNN.
It's all about the ratings.
Well, I don't know who's the win for, but they've given it enough airtime. But no, I will be watching that with fast forward. But what I have been watching is continue to watch Jury Duty on Freevee, which is the free streaming service of Amazon Prime, which it follows the workings of an American jury trial, which is not really a real jury trial through the eyes of a guy named Juror Ronald, who's actually a real person, who is unaware that the entire case is fake, and everyone except him is an actor, and everything that happens is carefully planned with improv.
Is there a laugh track or is
No, it's done donkey style. Actually, one of the, Matthew Morrison is the only person who's actually an actor, and he acts like a complete opposite of himself with a huge ego. He's like trying to get out of jury duty, saying like, I have my manager calling me or something, or I have this script I have to read, and he's trying to be a complete jerk.
I have one question for you. So I know what
Yes.
Freevee is. I recently rewatched Mad Men on Amazon, and all the ads are for Freevee, so that
Yes.
is very much in my brain. But how did you find out about Freevee?
How did I find out about it? Because I would just hear about this show. I believe that Judge Judy has a show that's on Freevee. I just hear about these things. I'll just briefly say that maybe like the first episode was just them talking about what they were going to order for lunch, and they got nothing done as far as the kids. It was
It sounds
such a waste of time.
It sounds like a longer version of Impractical Jokers. You know that comedy series, that prank
Yes.
series. It
Yeah,
sounds
that
like
show's
it's
been
like-
on for like
The whole
years already,
thing is
right?
not produced as if it's a prank.
Yeah.
It's all produced as if you could watch this as if this is a real documentary.
right.
It's the whole thing is just done straight through, and I think at the very end they tell you how they did it.
Okay, that sounds interesting. I might actually just check that out. Assuming it's like a quick
And
30
speaking of
minute.
recent, well, it's actually it's a multi-episode series.
Okay.
It's not one episode. But I've being current at this time while we're recording this, I watched halfway through Eurovision. Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar with that because, as you guys know, I'm Portuguese, and my sort of small social media of sort of like Portuguese circles, that kind of stuff comes up every year, especially on Twitter, because it gets to a point where like it really takes over Twitter. So I am familiar with that.
Yes.
Also, what's his name? Will Ferrell made a movie about Eurovision like 2 years ago. Where do you watch Eurovision?
Where?
Yeah, is it U.S.? I mean, U.S. broadcast wise, I didn't know it was on TV here.
I got my ways to watch these things. No, it's on Peacock.
Same way you watch the coronation, or how do you get around?
No, the coronation was on was probably on every channel ever. The coronation was on like CBS, NBC, Fox, ABC, CNN, BBC America. It's like you change the channel and you could find it. Eurovision, you kind of have to look for it. I think since 2016, it's been available in the US. Randomly, it was available on Logo.
I remember Logo.
Which is so that it was on that, and they had very fun, interesting commentary during it.
Is it similar to, I think, was American Idol, where like people call up or text and vote?
Well, yes. So each country gets the vote, but only for they can't vote for their own country.
Okay.
And then from that point, then they all put all the votes together. And then at the very end of the final, it takes like an hour that each representative from each country says where their points go to as far as selecting the winner.
So tell us why. Just tell us why you like it, why you're watching it, why you're hooked. What's going on? Why does it appeal to you?
Well, because I'm curious as far as seeing what songs are coming out of every country. Some are just like loud, crazy grunge. Some are just regular pop songs. It's just a lot of times you watch the performance and you go, wait, that's from Switzerland, or wait, that's from Italy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sometimes it doesn't even really completely make sense.
All right, maybe I'll check it out.
It's an 8-hour commitment for the most part, so.
Okay, yeah. So maybe not.
You can watch the YouTube clips of the performances and stuff.
I've been watching a lot of the same stuff that I've been watching for a while. I'm on a good routine now. I think most of my TV watching is still based on what happens on HBO Sunday night. So I pretty much been watching Succession week to week, and it's been probably the best season so far. But then on Sundays they also air Barry and a show that I think I mentioned probably on the first pod, Somebody Somewhere, which is a show on HBO that just came back for season 2. I've been watching all 3 of those shows, and then there's a new show on HBO, or actually 2 shows. One is called Love and Death, which I want to watch. It's I think it's about these 2 married couples who ends up having an affair, and then the wife of the husband in the affair gets murdered or killed. And there's sort of like, the town comes out with the torches after the woman, and then I think she goes to trial or something. It just feels like a very adult drama. I think it takes place in the 60s or 70s with Elizabeth Olsen, I want to say her name is. I'm terrible with names, but that looks really good. And then I've been watching an animated show on HBO called Fired on Mars.
Yeah, I caught that too. Yeah, I saw the first 2 episodes of that.
Yeah, that show is funny. It's about a company that has like I guess it's not headquartered on Mars, but they have like an office for some reason on Mars. And this guy's the graphic designer. He eventually gets laid off. But they don't send him back to Earth, so he just has to he's kind of like looking for a purpose up there. First he wants to get back in the company and find a job. But then the show kind of goes sideways a little bit. And each episode, he's like in a different scenario, so it feels pretty fresh. So yeah, I like that. I like that show. You liked it, the first 2 episodes, or?
Yeah. I'm gonna keep checking it out every now and then. I've always been a fan of like adult animations, and there's a lot of good ones out there. And there's actually a lot that just run for like a season and then that's it, I don't know what the reason for that is. I guess there's just so much content in that space. But I've seen over the last couple of years, maybe like half a dozen of these animated series that just run for a season, 2 seasons max, and are just like adult-oriented adult themes. It's just fun, man. It's just fun to watch.
It reminds me of, there's another HBO show called The Life and Times of Tim. It was another animated show. And it was pretty much like just a work/life kind of comedy. It's called The Life of Tim. I think it had 2 seasons. Season 1 is really good. But yeah, this is cool. It's like super low stakes show.
Yeah, I think Owen Wilson is the creator or something, right?
Luke Wilson. Luke Wilson voices the main cast. And then Pete Davidson is in it as well. It's pretty good. Recommend it. Scott, you might dig that. So that's kind of what I've been watching. I have a couple of things I need to catch up on, but I've kind of just been watching a lot of HBO stuff. Indian Matchmaker when I'm sort of just in a binge mode. That's my go-to.
I've been taking a break from HBO because I used to watch. I would watch Real Time with Bill Maher, and then last week tonight with John Oliver. But of course, because of the writer's strike, they're both not in production. So I should have just put my HBO Max subscription on pause, and hopefully when the writer's strike hopefully soon comes to an end, if the union comes to an agreement with the streamers and movie and TV industry, then I will turn it back on and then be able to continue watching those two good shows. Because eventually the industry is gonna hit a dead end like it did before several years ago, where all these shows that are being produced, I'm discovering new things on Netflix. Like, oh boy, there's actually things that there were too much has been produced, and I'm able to watch things. I'm not watching other things that are more produced in real time live that require writers and a lot of stuff already done already.
Well, you watch a lot of live television, right? You watch the morning shows and especially a lot of late night stuff. So all that stuff is on pause at the moment, right? The morning
Yes,
shows are not, right?
No, yeah, because that's considered news.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's going to be a while. They're not really close on agreeing to any of the terms, but hopefully they get that stuff resolved soon. Because what we don't want, even though we have an abundance of content, it feels like, especially if you're looking at like, the Netflix always feels overwhelming with all the box art, but like you said, like the live stuff is all stopped right now, and
particularly broadcast television. Broadcast television shows usually have to start producing in July. They have to be in production in at least June or July in order to make their September or October premiere.
The Directors Guild, their contract is going to expire within a few weeks too. So that's going to create a whole other issue for the streaming platforms. But look, just fucking pay these guys. Just pay these guys, because it used to be broadcasters and theaters and studios, but now it's tech companies kind of like, and all they're really interested is in, at least for the most part, is like what works for the algorithm. We need stuff that works for the algorithm, that generates the most eyeballs. And they're really like shrinking the amount of writers in rooms and writers in on sets. And writers don't really have the same royalties they used to have when everyone was writing for television and there was reruns. So yeah, feels like a big industry shakeup with tech sort of being involved, with Apple, Netflix, Amazon, all sort of reshaping the industry. Hopefully they figure something out. People stay employed. But yeah, let's move on to Clerks 3, a movie that cost about $7 million to make, in comparison to these streaming giants that we're talking about. So just a quick recap. This is the third Kevin Smith movie where he focuses on Dante and Randall, I believe their names are. So basically the plot of this one is they're still back at the Quickie Stop. It's not the Quickie Stop, it's like the Quick Stop or something, right? And basically they're just like up to the same old stuff, telling dirty jokes and just, clowning around with customers. But Randall, in an exchange with one of their friends, has a heart attack, and then this heart attack prompts him to have this sort of realization that he's led this meaningful life, and he wants to sort of, make a documentary or make a movie about his life and everything that's important to him. Basically, they're making the original Clerks, so it's kind of very meta in that sense. A lot of the scenes that they film are from the original Clerks or from the second movie. So yeah, that's kind of the driving plot of the film. Does any of you guys want to sort of dive in first with your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I watched the movie about 3 days ago. I've seen part 1 a long time ago. I saw part 2 in theaters when it came out a while back also. And seeing this one now just, it just continues where the last ones leave off, and it's like you said, those kind of like Gen X jokes. It's like a
Mhm.
Gen X crowd comedy. Really liked it. It just follows the Kevin Smith formula with some good writing and dialogue between the characters and stuff. Yeah, I thought the storyline for this one was really good and unique, very different than the other ones. The
Yeah.
way it kind of like gets all meta and it ties back into the movie that they're making within the movie is referencing the original Clerks, and there's even a part of the movie where they intersplice shots of the first one in black and white as the movie that Randall is making. It was just it was so cool, man. It's just I thought Kevin Smith is a great writer in my opinion, and I just thought it's just him honing down and just getting back to the basics of what he's great at and what made him, you know, really good and made him a coveted writer and director in the scene. And, I thought he worked really well with these characters and introduced some new characters and brought the old ones back. And
Yeah.
you could see how they changed and aged, but they're still the same characters. Like you had the guy in the store trying to, you know, preach about tobacco and like how it kills
The
and
lung.
stuff. Yeah, that guy, he was in the original one. And and then towards the end of the movie they show shots of them in the original movie. Yeah. I thought it was funny that they brought the girlfriend back, that they brought Dante's girlfriend back. I'll
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
forget her from the first one with the so hilarious with the thing about her blowing so many
The
guys and stuff. So
blowjobs.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, it was good.
but yeah, it was so good, man. It was so good. Again, like I think it'll resonate more with people who are from like Gen X and like more of the nerd crowd who's into like comic books and stuff like that because Kevin Smith belongs to all those and he always incorporates that into his films.
Yeah.
I really liked. I thought one of the best parts of the movie was the audition scene where he just brings
Right.
all these actors that he's worked with and all these like Jersey people out and to just break the third wall, face the camera, and read these lines. That was a nice little touch there.
Yeah. A lot of people that he worked with in the past. Ben Affleck was there, and a couple of the Impractical Jokers guys that we mentioned earlier. I think those guys are all like Long Island, Jersey, tribal guys. Scott,
Yeah,
did you? I know you hadn't watched the first two. What was this movie sort of about for you? Like not knowing not being familiar with these characters.
I did not know the story of Clerks. I'm very familiar of Kevin Smith. I've seen, pictures and promos of characters, but I never seen it. So I pretty much went in head on, starting with the third movie. So I think there was probably quite a bit of references that didn't connect because I didn't
oh
have
yeah,
that
tons of
historical.
reference. I think like
Yeah, the whole movie.
at least half the movie is references to the old
Right.
to the first.
No, I'm saying what's interesting is that in their real life, they got into an argument, and then they realized after this gathering, they decided to actually make the movie, and which made them change the script completely. Which was why I think that's why they made it so reflective of the past movies and making it about making a movie. But I also like there was one part where they played the Degrassi theme music because Kevin Smith was in a few episodes of the Canadian show Degrassi. So there was a whole scene in the hospital and they were playing the song Whatever It Takes, I Know I'll Make It Through, which I'm sure people who don't know that TV show would just go over their head, playing the
Right.
entire song for 3 minutes. But I think if I'm going to watch the first and second movie, so then I would think that seeing the third movie will make more sense. But I was watching them out of order. It's like watching Star Wars.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one to just go into because the whole movie relies on you being familiar with this whole world already. My expectations were very low. I remember not really liking the sequel very much. I saw it in theaters as well. Um, and I think I only saw it that one time, and I just remember being kind of disappointed. But going into this, then I had like pretty low expectations, and I would say the first 30 minutes when they're just in the quick stop, just arguing about the same old things, and when Randall is in the hospital, just going back and forth with with the doctor, I didn't really like any of that. I get bored with Kevin Smith's writing, but once the whole rest of the movie I thought was really good. Because I think he did something that he's never done before, at least with Clerks, which is like this movie actually has heart. And his other movies are just pretty shallow and pretty flat, and just about like dick jokes and people busting each other's balls. Um, but once they sort of introduced the heart attack, and Randall wanted to take on this project of revisiting and literally reliving some of these moments, it really sort of becomes triggering for Dante, and people keep reminding him, like, hey, this was my life too, because it was all of their lives. And then there's a moment where Dante kind of snaps after he shows up drunk, and then he has to shoot a scene where he's laying down on the freezer, I think that is. I was really impressed with that level of acting, both of them there. I didn't think they could actually pull that off because these guys are pretty amateurs. So I was really surprised by the level of acting. And then I was really surprised that this movie actually gave me some closure for the series that I wasn't really interested in, but it does have good closure for these characters. I didn't really expect that. So the end left me like really satisfied. I definitely liked it. But again, it's built on two previous films. So it does have that it does carry that responsibility that you have to watch two other movies to really understand these guys.
There were risks taken. Anytime you kill off a character, you're kind of bringing closure to the series, and he took some risks. Like you said, the actors showed flexibility and like dramatic scenes and stuff like that.
And that's not something that he really does in his movies, I don't think. Especially like this universe of Jay and Silent Bob and Clerks. So because these actors, they're not great. Not to say anything, but like I said at the top, I think the movie only cost like $7 million to make, and I think it made like 4. I think I read. But it had some really good parts.
Some of the adult themes in the movie, like dealing with getting older and health and stuff, I think that was all great, showing this time span of this story, these characters. And I believe Kevin Smith had some health issues a couple of years ago. Like he suffered a heart attack too. So I think he's incorporating some of that stuff in there from his personal life. And I really liked how, going back to the making the film within a film, how he was a lot of it was like explaining how Clerks was actually made and how they're trying to make the movie in the movie.
Well, Kevin Smith, Silent Bob,
like Easter eggs were being dropped in there about how Randall and Dante are trying to make this movie, but those are actual things that happened with Clerks, the making of Clerks. Like one of the examples is, like they brought the gate down and they had that sign that says like, "We assure you we're always open." That was like taken from the first one, but I read that the reason they had the gate down in the first movie was so they could shoot at night. I guess the store was closed and they shot at night, and that's why the gate was down.
Yeah.
But in order to like write it into the story, they just made it that like kids in the neighborhood or some people would just put gum in the locks. That's why they always kept the gate down. and they explained
Interesting.
that in this movie. So I thought that was cool. You know, it's kind of like Easter eggs here and there about how the movie was made.
And Silent Bob going when they make Silent Bob the director, obviously that's a callback to Kevin Smith directing the movies, but then he also goes on to explain why he wants to film it black and white, which is
Yeah.
great.
To me, these characters, like, they're not going to get old. You just, it's always going to be fun to hear like dig jokes and these guys just joking around and just being Jersey friends and stuff.
Okay.
And it's a really successful franchise. I mean, it spawned spin-offs, right? It spun
A
two
bunch.
Silent Bob movies, because there was a recent one too. They did a
Wait,
part 2 to the
three?
James. There's 3 already.
I think there might be 3. I remember watching
Yeah,
the first one
I
in,
only saw
in
the
theater.
first one. And that one was funny and fun. So I think after watching this, I might catch the Jay and Silent Bob sequels. And a lot of people don't realize or forget that there was a Clerks animated series too. So, and they
Was
might have had they might have had some comics and stuff. So it's a successful franchise. It's ventured off into all these spin-offs and stuff. So
I want to talk a little bit about the first Clerks that came out in '94. That was, I think, Smith's first movie, but '94, I think I was 12. I didn't watch it in theaters, obviously, but it's probably the first indie movie I've ever watched. It's probably the first movie where watching it, I felt like I was onto something that popular or mainstream culture just didn't know about. It made me feel like super inclusive into like this secret film world. And it's the first movie like that I've ever watched that it's like, it wasn't underground or anything, but in my mind back then it was underground. It was like, I'm not supposed to be watching this movie, but somehow, and this is in part because I had an older brother. I have an older brother, but that's how I watched it. But it made me feel like really cool. Like, oh, I found this. And then I watched it a bunch of times. And then it had like all the rated R jokes, so at that age, you're sort of not really exposed to that. You're used to watching like, Family Matters, Saved by the Bell, Fresh Prince. That's your content. So when you get introduced to something like this for the first time, and it was in black and white, and it was like very Jersey, and me growing up in New York, because that's like, very similar in terms of the language and the slang and the insults. So it was the first movie that gave me that feeling, like, and it also made me like really appreciate and get into movies more broadly too. So I'll always have that connection to the Clerks series, even though, 2 I didn't really like, and I'm not a big fan of Kevin Smith or anything. But that first movie played a huge role in sort of me, what I think of movies, the kind of movies I watch, and why, I think.
yeah, I feel like it's a movie that introduced a lot of people to indie movies.
Yeah.
Like, oh, comedy doesn't have to be, I don't know, whatever the big comedies of the 90s were. It can just be filmed on a low budget, and it could just be a bunch of friends hanging out and cracking jokes on each other.
Yeah.
And
Like,
it just, it's one of the few movies that transcends the border of it being an indie movie to it just being like becoming just a big movie at pop culture, and everybody knows it and talks about it. And it's, if you look back at it now, obviously it's an indie movie because of how it was made and the budget, and it was independently financed. But you look back now, 30 years ago, this movie, if you look at it now, it's, I wouldn't consider it like an indie movie because everybody's seen it. It's everywhere. Everyone knows about it. It's so popular.
I think it's particularly popular, as you said, with Gen X. I think growing up in the 90s and coming into our teenage years in the 90s, we came up with this stuff. Like, this was one of the iconic movies of that generation. I think, the MTV generation. Like, Clerks was a big part of that. So I think I wouldn't say this transcends like generations. Because Scott, you being a little younger, maybe this is kind of like why you missed it. Because I think Clerks does have a very short window of like you were either there or you weren't there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very generational thing. But yeah, the original was, you know, it was pretty awesome, and it really set up Kevin Smith for a lot of mainstream success. Scott, any final thoughts? Are you gonna watch the original Clerks?
Yes, I have it that I'm going to be able to watch it. I reserved it, so I'll be able to watch both Clerks and Clerks 2. I just have to pick it up.
Oh, so you have to reserve it. It's not available on streaming.
It is, but you have to. It's only available for. I think it's Clerks 2 is available on Pluto TV, I believe, and then Clerks you have to rent it. And it's like a one-off rental fee.
Okay.
You could probably find it at your local library.
That's right.
You might have to get the VHS.
No, I was able to get it on DVD. Fun isn't hard when you got a library card, and I have one, so not that hard to get it.
I'm definitely gonna check out some of the spin-off sequels, and I might go back and just do some more Kevin Smith directed movie viewings, because I've seen a couple of his movies and I really like a lot of them. The ones with Ben Affleck in them, Dogma, Chasing Amy, Mallrats. Those are all really, really good movies in my opinion. So I might go back and watch a few just to relive it.
The movies are on Paramount Plus, just FYI, if you guys want to hit up the free trial.
I must say, one part of it that you don't get the experience, that he has a whole thing at the very beginning of the movie on Clerks 3, thanking you for getting the DVD copy, because that he says a whole like 3-minute speech at the very beginning of the DVD, because without people buying the DVD, they don't make money to be able to make the movie. And he also thanks people who borrowed the movie from other people, and borrowing, you mean you have to give it back to those people.
All right, guys, if there's nothing else, we'll leave it there. We'll see everybody next time. And yeah, we'll sort of chat throughout the week in terms of figuring out what we're going to watch for the next one.
Later.
Peace.